Here are 27 NBA dunks that will make you double take your perception of reality. Kicking off, Donovan Mitchell had a play that made Yuta Watanabe appear rather novice. A big bird whispered to me that Watanabe's jersey would not be Japan's top seller much longer, especially after that embarrassing dunk. Surprisingly, I wasn't informed that J.R. Smith possessed such leaping ability, and neither did George Hill. Sheesh. Much like how I wasn't aware that Giannis could be a part of a poster. Old Man Green said, "Watch out, young fella." The dunk was icy. The reaction was downright arctic. But as you reach for your heavy coat, brace yourself. The dunks are only set to escalate in absurdity and spectacle. From leapfrogging opponents, to turning Anthony Davis into a poster boy for Make-A-Wish Foundation, to an alley-oop that nearly inflicted serious injury, you'll want to get comfortable. But first, we're venturing into a realm that has ceased to exist, Ohio. Fortunately, this wasn't the case in 2010. It was Game 4 between two of the league's powerhouses, LeBron James' Cavaliers and Kevin Garnett's Celtics. With the Celtics leading 2-1, KG was already packing his bags, a regrettable mistake. Unbeknownst to him, LeBron James would make him call for his mother. Call him what you wish, the king, the chosen one, the consecutive MVP. But to some, he'll now and forever be known as KG's Poppy. However, this still doesn't hold a candle to DeAndre Jordan robbing Brandon Knight of his self-respect. Be it Air Jordan, Michael B. Jordan, or his distant relative DeAndre Jordan, tangling with a Jordan isn't advisable. It's rumored that Brandon Knight still has nightmares from this day. As for Baron Davis in 2007, he was accused of attempted homicide. Seems like Andrei Kirilenko was caught red-handed. Better commence planning his final meal. Yet, against all odds, Ja Morant continues to elude capture. Over and over, he's found at the crime scene, yet he always manages to slip away. It leaves one to ponder if this dunk will be the one that finally brings him to justice. Regrettably, Ja, this bears your unmistakable mark. Fortunately, Jalen Smith decided to let the charges slide. Regardless, it's not quite as aggressive as the 20th entry, but this time, it's not Ja Morant, it's his forerunner, Vince Carter. When Ja was just a youngster, Carter was preoccupied with humiliating the entire league. This even includes NBA Hall of Famers, as in 2005, Vince Carter had the chance to embarrass VA's finest, Alonzo Mourning, and believe me, he seized the opportunity. Shout out to the 757. Plenty has transformed in the past 7 years. The Cavaliers finally won a championship, the Warriors assembled an NBA dynasty, and Trevor Ariza switched teams an astonishing 6 times. But for some reason, Alonzo Mourning and Vince Carter are still at odds, much like Ja Morant and Jakob Poeltl. Real shit, if someone does this to me, I'll be joining Aaron Rodgers in his sabbatical cave next year. Somehow I feel as though this won't be the last we see of these two. However, if I were Anderson Varejao, I wouldn't just be considering a retreat into obscurity, I'd be contemplating fleeing the country entirely. Beware of the silent ones. They're often the ones to watch out for. We should have known that D-Wade was a threat. Varejao may need his back readjusted after that one. But if that's dangerous, then it signifies one thing. Derrick Rose is a societal hazard. A year after Wade's colossal slam, Rose created an even larger headline against the Phoenix Suns. Some moments stand the test of time, and every time Derrick Rose morphed into a kangaroo may be one such instance. Conversely, this dunk may or may not survive the test of time, but either way, it resides uncharged in Danilo Gallinari's mind. In 2010, Blake Griffin was a man on a quest, and so was 2012's Blake Griffin. That year, he found himself in a face-off with Paul Gasol's Lakers, with the pride of LA at stake. Mere 4 minutes into the game, Griffin soared across the entire city in a matter of 10 seconds. The lesson here, Blake operates on an entirely different planet. However, Shawn Kemp, appears to reside in a completely different cosmos because some athletes are just ahead of their time. In 1992, Kemp made a slam dunk so advanced it seemed he needed a time machine to execute it. First, he cranked up on Alton Lister's head and then pointed at him. "Don't kick him while he's down, Sean, damn." But yet, it's better being schooled by a Hall of Famer than by a player who's destined to show why he doesn't belong on the bench. Were it not for his tattoos and mohawk, Birdman might have dissolved into tears right there. Instead, he heeded the counsel of renowned poet and philosopher Drake. Laugh now, cry later, regrettably. Yuta Watanabe didn't have the same privilege. On the fateful night of February 19, 2021, the Timberwolves and Raptors were clashing fiercely, and out of nowhere, a man fell. It's a glizzy! I had my suspicions about Anthony Edwards being a roughneck, especially after he assaulted two Nuggets arena employees with a chair. But ending a man's career is an all-time low. As Watanabe lay there on the hardwood, a miracle occurred. Just when everyone assumed they had lost him, it turned out he was a subscriber to Double Nickel 55.
Push the button.
I'm so humbled. But Watanabe wasn't the only player to have a narrow escape. Miles Bridges has a history of aggressive play, but luckily, Clint Capella seems able to take it in stride. However, I'm uncertain whether you guys are prepared for the top 10 dunks. Be forewarned, it's about to get real. Speaking of getting real, let's revisit the 2021 playoffs when the Hawks and 76ers gave it their all. Everyone, that is, except Ben Simmons. Nonetheless, Simmons can breathe easy. He wasn't the one posterized in Game 6, his teammate was. It's unfortunate enough that Joel Embiid was posterized, but what if I informed you that things were about to take a turn for the worse? Much worse. A few days later, the stakes were elevated. A decisive Game 7 with a ticket to the Eastern Conference Finals at stake. And spoiler alert, the Hawks didn't merely posterize Embiid this time. They sent him to the Chris Naive. In other words, the Sixers already had enough disappointment for one night, but John Collins wasn't sympathetic. He turned up to the post-game press conference in this. John Collins' mediocre ass makes one dunk and assumes he's the man. Someone needs to school this man. But guess who else needs a lesson? Kendrick Perkins. He was blindsided from the right corner for 2 dunks. Forget Chef Curry. I prefer Chef Wade preparing my meals. He served up Perkins on a silver platter. But at number 8, Wade's former teammate does something even more audacious. John Lucas III had better tighten up, or there might not be a John Lucas IV. And as expected, 1 year later, Timmy Hardaway Jr. suffered the same blistering fate. Oh my lambs! Another glizzy! That was savage. Giannis shows no mercy, as evidenced by his post-game comments. Greek Freak dunks like LeBron and stays capping like him too. Although Giannis doesn't aspire to be like LeBron, he does want to be like the GOAT. Because in 2019, the Greek Freak reenacted one of Jordan's most iconic dunks. Safe to say, Giannis hit the genetic jackpot. But while Giannis won big, we have one of the most brutal dunks from the entirety of the 2023 NBA season. A glizzy here, a glizzy there. Glizzy's goddamn everywhere. Admittedly, I may not be the best counter, but this Aaron Gordon dunk was so extraordinary, I was compelled to include it. However, the BSing ends here, because at number 5, it's a grand dunk in the grandest of moments. 5 years ago, the Raptors were 1 point behind with less than 10 seconds left. They were faced with only 2 options, step up or step off. Fortunately, DeMar DeRozan didn't care. Not even his cousin, defense, could impede his progress. It's tough to find someone better than DeMar DeRozan, but if Debo isn't available in the clutch, then I'll take Kobe and Shaq. These two were unstoppable in their prime, despite the off-court controversies. Their on-court synergy was unparalleled, and in 2000, their incredible rapport propelled them to Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. Now, the query wasn't about their proficiency to excel, it was about whether their synergy could shine brightest when it mattered most. From Bean's toss to Shaq's unforgettable celebration, This moment will eternally be a part of NBA's rich history. This leads us to our top 3 NBA dunks that are simply must-see. Witnessing them will undoubtedly alter your understanding of the game. Initiating the countdown, we feature the dunk that continues to haunt Anthony Davis's dreams. Word on the street is that AD, despite being 30 years old, hasn't abandoned his nightlight. On the contrary, Patrick Ewing isn't frightened by any creatures of the night. His nightmares are dominated by one Scottie Pippen. But first, let's journey back to a day engraved in memory. May 20th, 1994, Knicks vs. Bulls. Notably, when the Bulls executed a 3-on-3 fast break, suddenly, Pippen had the ball in his hands, promptly evolving into Ewing's ultimate dread. As vicious as that dunk was, the following antics matched it in comparison. Pippen went so far as to command Spike Lee to carry your hind parts back to New York City. Now that's an invitation for trouble. Yet, Scottie Pippen's cheeky antics pale compared to our final dunk. In March 2013, the Miami Heat were amidst crafting history, stringing together an astonishing streak of 22 consecutive victories. They appeared to be invincible, but they had one lingering skeptic, Jason Terry. Terry audaciously stated, "I'm not really impressed with it or anything they do." Naturally, LBJ ensured this doubter paid his dues. Indeed, Jason Terry should be wary of his wishes. Don't forget, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell icon notification.